Brendon Burchard is a 3 times New York Times bestselling author and high-performance coach who has trained over 1.5 million people. He went from struggling with depression and surviving a serious car accident to becoming the highest-paid motivation and marketing trainer. Need motivation?
Watch the top 10 of Believe Nation because I love it.
Top 10, I got a top 10. Got my motivation high for my top 10. Gotta learn from the wise women and men. All my life, like 9 to 9. For my top 10, top 10, 9 to 9. This one's for my top 10.
Hey, it's Carmichael, and I make these videos because chances are you are the most ambitious person in your circle, but you know you're capable of more, and you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best. So today let's learn from one of the best, Brendon Burchard, and my take on his top 10 rules to success. Enjoy. Okay, let's kick it off with rule number 1, be obsessed.
I tell people all the time, there is a difference between passion and obsession. And high performers have obsession about the topic. Right? They are obsessed about the topic in which they're trying to learn, master, grow into. And so that obsession is real. And I tell people the difference, here's how you know the difference between the two. When you're passionate, everybody cheers you on. They're stoked for you. Oh, you found your passion? Awesome. Follow your passion. Live with passion. Be passionate. Chase your passions. Everything, like passion. Passion's good. Like the world's gonna be like, yay, passion, right? When you're obsessed, they're like, why you gotta be so crazy? Why can't you be satisfied? Why do you always got to get things so perfect? Why do you spend so much time here? When you're obsessed, people think you're nuts. So it's different. And it's like, I always tell people, if no one thinks you're crazy, you're not yet operating to the outer limits of your potential. You're not there yet. Because somebody in your life should say, man, you really care about this in like a crazy way. And when you get there, you know you found your thing. And not everybody finds that. I think that's also why it's scary. Some people go, well, I'm passionate or I'm happy, but I don't really obsess about anything. You know, most people obsess about, their shows on Netflix more than their life. I know people who obsess more about their thread count in their sheets at their house than they do about the impact they're making in the world.
Rule number 2, seek clarity.
Talk to any high performers I'm sure you've interviewed. They kind of know the service and the difference they want to make. Maybe not precisely, but they're asking the question. Mm-hmm. So that's some of what we know. They seek clarity. And that's kind of the first practice is asking questions in those areas. Mm-hmm. And the other two real fast is when you're seeking clarity, they're more clear about the feeling they want to have. Like an Olympic sprinter who's won gold is more likely to have said before he went or she went on the track, how do I want to feel out there? Not like just the result, like when the foot's in the block and I'm arms down, like what do I want to feel? Mm-hmm. Like they're very aware of the feeling they're trying to get.
Yeah, I don't want to feel nervous and stressed. I want to feel calm and clear and smooth. And
yes, and they're doing that self-talk, which is seeking clarity. And then the last one, which is really important, they're clear about what's meaningful to them now and what might be different in the future, which is something I didn't know until we did a lot of the interviews or the conversations, is a lot of people kind of know what I like now. They know what their passion is. But it's like, what's going to be meaningful to you later? Like in 5 years. They've thought about that. I would say they've done the work. So that's just the first habit. Mm. And so the book kind of opens with that story of like finding we all have to decide who we are and what we want and how to get it at this stage of our life. And when we don't know that, reaching high performance can be really hard.
Yeah. It's all about clear vision for me. It's the first chapter in my book is the greatest leaders in the world have a clear vision.
Love that.
Yeah.
That's it. And they got that vision by seeking clarity.
Yes.
That was the habit that gave them the vision. Mm-hmm. They were consistently seeking, like, they asked themselves more questions. Mm-hmm. That's one of our findings. They literally are doing more of the self-talk, asking more of the questions, which is so important.
Rule number 3, set monthly personal challenges.
I started setting personal challenges every month. At the beginning of each month, I do this whole thing where I holistically evaluate my life on the first of every month. And it's like these 10 different categories of my life, from emotional to relational to financial to, career, mission, objectives, all these things. I go down that on the first of the month, just kind of holistic viewpoint of my life. And then I set a personal challenge and a professional challenge. And I do that every month. Every Sunday, I revisit my progress. Every Sunday for 23 years. So it's not like I'm just, one day ended up in a happy life. It was like that a level of self-evaluation that most people avoid until their birthday or New Year's. I do it every Sunday and every first of the month, and I don't ever miss.
Rule number 4, don't fear rejection.
Why do you think people can slip into an obsession over Netflix or whatever, or thread count, but they don't do that for something that could really change their life?
Feedback.
That's interesting. It's not what I expected you to say. What do you mean by that?
Because, buying something or getting pulled into Netflix, being obsessed about something that gives you no feedback is not scary. A real obsession, like trying to make an impact in the world, you're gonna get feedback. You try to make a difference in somebody's life, they're gonna tell you, that doesn't resonate with me, Brendon. You try to make a difference in a nonprofit, you try to change the world, you try to start something like this, and the views come or they don't come, there's feedback. And people are terrified. It's one of the 4 central fears we all have is rejection. We're terrified, like to be rejected. And think about, if you really wanna make an impact, you're going to get a lot of judgment, you're gonna get a lot of hate, and ultimately you're gonna get rejection. People are gonna just diss on you, people are gonna say that's not good enough, people are gonna say, who do you think you are? And people are so worried about that they stop. And so it's easier. Things that don't give you feedback. Watching Netflix don't give you no feedback. It's easy. There's no disappointment there. Even if you don't like the show, what do? You just go on to the next show. There's no disappointment there. I think trying to make an impact, there's a lot of disappointment and fear and potential for rejection. So people don't get obsessed about making a difference and making an impact because it can hurt.
My friend Evan Carmichael's book, listen, humans are built to serve. Some people are built to serve the world, others want to serve the 25 people closest to them. But in either case, humans are built to serve. So if you're not happy right now, it's because you're not serving enough. You got to pick up this book because it's so inspiring to remind you that we're all here to contribute, to make a difference, to make an impact, and this is your field guide for that.
Rule number 5, develop far beyond your comfort zone.
What we found in our research, which surprised me, high performers do not report working on their strengths any more than regular people. Mm-hmm. So that's not what gives them the edge. One of the chapters opens up with this guy who wrote this email, really highly successful guy. And he wrote this email to me, says, and I'd put him through all this. I put him through StrengthsFinder, the Berkman, the Colby, the Myers-Briggs, put him through everything. This is one of my first coaching clients ever. I knew everything about him. We knew all his background, we did all the homework, had his peer review, his 360 assessments from work. And then I watched him fail for 2 years. And he wrote me this email and he said, Brendon, stop telling me what successful people are like because we know my strengths, I'm not getting ahead. And start telling me what they do. And that's what this book became out. It's like, what do you need to do? Because, and in this email he wrote this, which is where that finding came from. He said, this was so good. Listen to this line. He said, as a leader, I have to be honest with myself that my mission and vision should never be made to bow down to my limited human strengths. I should have to rise up to my mission or vision. The strengths aren't the relevant thing. The question is, what is necessary for me to develop into to reach that mission? It's like, your strengths are great. And it's like, yes, of course do your strengths. But that's kind of like, what I tell people is let's imagine you have a bear and that bear wants to go on top of this cliff over here and it's never been on the cliff and it wants to get that new honey up there, right? Telling the bear to focus on the strengths, to go somewhere it's never gone before and do something it's never done before is stupid. It's like saying, hey, you know what? Just try being more of a bear.
Right.
If you say, Brendon, I got this big new vision. I just say, just try being more of Lewis. I mean, it's at a spiritual level that feels good. But you and I both know you're going to have to develop far beyond your comfort zones. And strengths are typically comfort zones. We got to overcome that and go to the next level.
And develop new skills and overcome certain fears and all these other things that are going to help us get to the next level. Is that right?
Yeah. The whole conversation of beyond the comfort zone really requires us to go beyond our strengths.
Rule number 6, fill your calendar.
Most people don't have a calendar. So that's problem number 1. They're not strategically blocking time, moving towards the major things they want in their life. They won't say they're going through the motions, but the calendar reveals it. Like if I parachute in their life and I open up their calendar and there's nothing there, they can't possibly say they're living with purpose or intention. And that sounds so flippant to say, but I can't believe how many people, they're not planning their skill set development. They're not planning specific goal attainment on certain dates. They're just like, their calendar's completely empty and they're hoping it's gonna happen. And it's like, if you look at mine, it's like military-esque like planning. Like I'm going to hit these goals. It's going to happen.
Rule number 7, execute.
Big biases I had that were wrong. And you're not gonna like this one, and no one's going to like it. But creativity is not strongly correlated with high performance. I would have, 3 years ago, I would argue. I mean, I would have been passionately argued against, because I'm a creative.
Yeah.
This is my life. I write, I train, I speak. That's what I would have argued forever. I've designed all the covers of my books.
Yeah.
I mean, I dork out about design. I design all my web pages. I believe that creativity must give the edge, and it does give an edge in some certain circumstances, for sure. But I interviewed a Fortune 50 CTO, Chief Technology Officer. Unbelievably high-performing people. Their stock's off the roof. But what he said, he goes, Brendon, I'm not a creative person. My team isn't particularly creative. But long-term success matters just as much about execution and consistency and showing up as the creative edge. The creative edge might get you in the game, because remember, high performance is long-term success. Mm-hmm. We're not studying initial success. It's very, initial success, grit, creativity, originality, all these things, very important. The spark that gets you in the game, for sure. But even Jim Rohn said, motivation gets you in the game, habits keep you there. And creativity as a habit, the spark that might be called original creativity, mm-hmm. It might only happen for us every 2 to 3 years. So that's not sufficient. We got to show up on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday. Execution is more important, as an example. So we talk about the kinds of creativity that actually matter, but it's not strongly correlated almost across all industries. And I would have completely argued with that.
Rule number 8, attach your identity to the process.
Well, imagine like last night, I'm going on the stage, right? If my identity says I am a public speaker and it is important for me to be excellent at this, and then I go on stage and I bomb, what does that say about me as a person? So we've got about 50 years of work in psychology, the field of psychology, saying do not tie your efforts to your identity, because that risk of disappointment or rejection, if the task fails, you shouldn't take that as a defining moment in which you say, I am a failure, right? So that's the risk, and that's what psychologists tell us to be wary of. Except it turns out that high performers flip that on its face and go, well, actually, no, I do get bothered if it fails. I really get upset about it. I am attached to the process here. I do care if it turns out well. I mean, that's why they obsess about the details. That's why they care about excellence. It's like, no one obsesses about the details or cares about excellence unless it means something to them. And there is a risk. The risk is you over-attach to the process or the outcome with your identity, so that if the process or outcome goes bad, now you feel bad about yourself as a human, and now you stop your progress. But I also tell people, there's a balance there. I actually wish more people would attach some identity to what they're doing. They wouldn't go through the motions as much. I mean, I think what the world needs less of is half-interested parents who don't have an identity that says, you know what? I'm gonna be an excellent parent. I think we have a lot of CEOs or business people or entrepreneurs who they've never stepped in and said, you know what? I'm a CEO. I own this business. I am responsible for paying the bills. I am responsible for making the money. I'm responsible for all these people's mortgages who work for me. I want them to own the identity of a CEO, because most of them, if you ask them about their identity and their business, they're kind of like, you come to find, they're kind of approaching it like not even hobbyists. It's like, if you want to win, your identity has to be tied into that thing in which you are trying to succeed at and give to. And that takes a lot of guts to put yourself all in for something, but who's ever contributed something with tremendous impact without being all into it? I've never seen it. So I think the message of the book, you're right, I'll get some flack from people, a lot of psychologists say, don't tell people to tie more of their identity. Or my friends who are Buddhists will say, but attachment is the form of all suffering, Brendon. Have you not read your spiritual texts? I'm like, look out, calm down. I've hung out with the Dalai Lama. I'm totally cool. But what I'm trying to tell you is even the Dalai Lama has a connection with himself as a spiritual leader. His identity is still there. That people, assume that, we have to release ourselves from having any attachment to something. But I'm like, I think we all want to be present and engaged fully in the things that we are doing in our lives. And that's going to require us to say psychologically, you know what? I am all in this. That's what I'm about.
Rule number 9, create energy.
The habit is generate energy.
Okay.
Not necessarily have energy.
Create energy.
Create energy. And what they do, the way we measure that was kind of academic. Mental energy, which is tied to your focus and your stamina and your ability to manage complex tasks without too much mental stress. Number 2 is emotional energy, which is just the quality of your positive emotions. And number 3 is physical energy. High performers are 40% more likely to work out 5 times per week than the rest of their peers. So that means the top 15% most high-performing people in the world tend to work out 5 days per week. And that workout could be defined as, 45-minute brisk walk or, HIIT intensity or whatever it is, but 40% more likely. That's a huge finding. And what we found is high performers just have better well-being and happiness and physical conditioning than everybody else. One stunning finding was CEOs, senior executives, and business owners, they report expending as much energy as athletes who are competitive now.
I can imagine. Yeah.
Yeah. I was surprised by that. I would have thought, athletes would be 10% more.
I mean, the emotional and mental energy they have to, the decision making, the conversations, the big deals, the stakeness.
Yeah.
It's a lot of energy.
It's a lot. And that's why, if you really want to achieve your dreams, you have to care for your body, your mind. That's why all these things, finally resonating in the marketplace because the science of meditation or taking a break or, managing your own energy. Sleep is everything. Yeah. And I think all of that is really important. And we say generate energy because there's this myth that, some people have happiness or they have, it's like, no, you generate it. You don't have happiness. You generate it.
Create it, yeah.
You create it. And so the quality of your energy you have to create. Like you and I both, if most of our audience knew our schedules, your schedule the last 5 days, is like, how is Lewis even able to focus right now?
And how are you able to get here and do this as well?
Yeah, but it's because we say, well, this is our mission. Show up, man.
Yeah,
there's plenty of times I got to imagine you walked on the field and you were like, I'm spent.
Exhausted.
I remember when you flew down to compete in South America.
I still play with the USA team handball team. And a year ago, I flew down to, I remember I did an interview in Miami and then flew out from Miami and then just went right into training camp and then played against Brazil, which is Olympic qualifiers, and got our asses whooped. But it was fun, But I had to have clarity and energy to show up, even when I was like, oh, we're going to lose.
Yeah.
There's zero chance.
Yeah.
It was like the worst team in the NBA playing like the Warriors, and we were just like, we had no chance.
Yeah.
But I had to show up and give my best. And
you have to set all these routines. The amount of routines that Tom Brady has in his life so that he can generate energy.
It's unbelievable.
Stuns most people.
It's unbelievable.
And that's
what it takes if you want to be at that level. If you don't want to be at that level, you don't have to do it.
Yeah, you don't have to do it. Everybody can just I'm going to go, hit the Cinnabon, but it's like,
it's pretty good.
How do you want to feel at 3 o'clock?
Yes.
If you want to feel amazing at 3 o'clock, don't end lunch with a Cinnabon.
And rule number 10, the last one before a very special bonus clip, is adjust your alignment.
You wrote that achievement is not the problem, alignment is. Can we talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I wish it was my line. It was one of my clients. She's, she manages over 10,000 people. She has 10,000 direct reports. She's just an unbelievable achiever. And when I started working with her, just like a lot of people, their struggles aren't, can I make a goal list and a checklist and, can I get things done? Because people get stuff done all the time. But our busy work isn't always our life's work. And so you have to learn that we have to find that
thing that we can align to. And a lot of people, they're achieving themselves into the wrong thing. They put the ladder against the wrong building. They just haven't really figured out what's important to them. And most importantly, alignment also includes harmony in your life. Because a lot of people achieve in their career and then they're divorced.
Yeah.
People achieve, and they're fat and they didn't take care of themselves. And they know it, and it sounds horrible to say it, but they know it. And so you have to figure out like, okay, how can we align ourselves to something that we really care about? And not align like sometimes on a Monday or a Tuesday, or not just in our career, but really get our relationships, our health, our career, all in alignment to help us become high performing. Because high performing isn't just achievement for achievement's sake.
Now I've got a special bonus clip from Brendon on how to visualize what you want that I think you're gonna enjoy. But before that, if you're still here watching, I wanna make sure you're taking action. We don't just watch videos here in Believe Nation, we do something about it. So if you right now promise and commit to doing something after watching this video, give me a hashtag Believe in the comments below. I want to celebrate you.
I also every morning lay in bed and I visualize what I want. And I see, like when I wake up, I literally just lay there for an extra 2, 3, 4 minutes and I just kind of visualize and I'm thinking about the things that I want. So that happens every morning.
Are you willing to share an example?
Actual example. So from age of 20 to 26, probably 90% of the time, I would lay there and I would see myself on stages, big stages. And I would sit there and as soon as that image came up, I'd freak out. Like I'd imagine myself walking on a stage with an arena and I would literally just start sweating in bed. I'd lay there in bed, terrified, like just awfully uncomfortable because that wasn't me. But I was like, everyone was saying, your car accident story, Brendon, really made a difference in my life. This whole idea of having reverence for life and having, the intention of who you want to be, all these simple things that we talk about in personal development, but I'd share my story with people and think, oh my gosh, you need to teach that. And I was like, oh, I started hearing that. I said, maybe I'll learn to teach, I'll learn to talk. I'll be more expressive because where I'm from, I grew up in an Irish mining town that had been economically depressed for a century. Like men didn't communicate. There was no emotional expression. If their hands came above their waist, they were punching you in the face, I mean, it was a very physical and very violent place I grew up in, but there wasn't emotional expression. So I'd lay there and I'd see myself like talking and moving on stage. If you visualize yourself on stage, people watching now or listening now, if you close your eyes and you see yourself on stage, public speaking, with no podium, no notes to 10,000 people in an arena, most people will get clammy hands and start sweating if you really see it and think about it and feel it and put yourself there for 2 to 3 minutes. I did that for 6 years for 3 to 5 minutes every morning. I'd hear myself saying something. I'd see myself moving. I'd see the audience clapping or jumping up at the end. I'd see myself moving across the stage in ways I'd never moved. And that visualization created that skill set. Because then I'd go and sometimes I'd wake up and I was like, oh, that was good. And I'd try it out on the carpet. I'd get up and like, oh, I like that. I'd try it out and I'd try it out just in my little dorm room, then my little apartment. And I was always trying things out and I always wanted to get better at it and always wanted to get better at it. So it just depends. Sometimes it's a specific goal. Like right now, I'm also working on some, major media goals. And so I'm seeing myself and hearing myself talk through the deal with the people I'm pitching.
If you want to see the top 10 I did on Tony Robbins, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
Don't bullshit yourself. You'll never get 1 million out of 10 million or 10 million out of 100 million. It's just not going to happen. If you appreciate it, there'll be compassion. And where there's compassion, there is love.